When challenges come, it's easy to get distracted and to lose sight of where we're going. And focusing on the bigger picture helps us remain consistent, helps us remain charged, helps us remain directed, focused, and energetic. And that's what we're talking about today. How do we stay focused on the big picture that sets us up for success? Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I'm excited that you are with me for another day in this walk to consistency, 100 days, and we are on day number 75. Remember, consistency is your key. It is your superpower that sets you up for success, that sets you up for the possibility of being a better version, to be a stronger version, a more consistent version of yourself. It is the thing that we do. Every day that you show up, you are putting another piece to the puzzle in success. So I'm glad that you're here. Let's go ahead. I'll see you on the walk. There's always something to be said for being in the details. I mentioned to you that I am not a detailed person. I am an overview person. And there's something to be said for being down where you are functioning and you are putting things together and everything is falling in place. But sometimes we get caught up in the weeds and we lose sight of the big picture, and that is where we're heading. When I was learning to drive, my teacher, a friend of mine, and I were driving the car, and I kept weaving over the over the road, and he said to me, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm looking at the lines. I'm trying to keep the car between the lines." And he said, "No, that's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is I want you to look at the big picture. I want you to look ahead and see where we're going. Because if you look to see where we're going, then all the other things are going to fall into place." And so that's the concept that I want to discuss today, keeping our eyes on the big picture and how that sets us up for success, how that helps us with resiliency, and how that gives us better focus. So why is keeping our eye on the big picture why does that help keep you moving forward? Well, as I mentioned, often there are those little things that happen. They don't always go the way we expected, right? Things don't always stay the way we thought they're going to stay. We've had the plans, we've made the SMART goals, and we thought that today one resource was going to come, but it doesn't show up. We thought yesterday that something else was going to happen, and that doesn't pan out. And so we can become frustrated, we can become discouraged. But if we keep our eye on the big picture, then we understand that the method to get to that goal doesn't really matter, right? We are enjoying the journey, we're enjoying the process, but our goal is really to get there. And so having an eye on the big picture is very important, because it's easy to get caught up in the small stuff. It's easy to get caught up in the momentary discouragements, the momentary difficulties, the momentary lumps or humps in the road. And that can really throw us off if we are not careful. A bad workout, yeah, this didn't go well, I hurt myself, something happened, or I missed a day. That's a very common one. I think I mentioned the story that when I lived in Birmingham, I had a trainer, and a friend of mine, we would go to the gym, and one day it was cold. I mean, it was one of them cold days, and I got a call, and my workout partner said, "Hey, it's cold out there, let's not go today." And I was like, "Yeah." Now, I already didn't want to go, right? So as soon as I got that call, my brain was like, okay, yeah, that confirms it, that we shouldn't go. And so ended up not going. And that one day turned into a second day and a third day and a fourth day and a fifth day. And after a while, our workout actually ended because we missed that one day. And because we were so focused on that one day that it catapulted us into a space of not being consistent, that we didn't, that's not what we were planning, okay? So sometimes you have that one momentary workout that one missed day, that one slow progress that doesn't quite go our way. And if we're not careful, then we take that as a sign and we end up losing the momentum that we had, because we're focusing on that momentary setback. And so our goal is to lift our eyes up higher so that we can see the journey that we're on. And that is where the success happens. That is where, that's what pushes us. That's what gives us focus. That's what gives us direction and energy. Focus, direction, and energy. See that? Focus, direction, and energy. Wow. Another one of those things, right? Focus, direction, and energy. FDE or FED. I like acronyms. I don't know if you can tell, but yes, I do. So the problem isn't the setback, right? Because that setback is just another thing. We understand that those happen. We understand that things won't go always the way we thought they were going to go. We understand that we can't control other people, and their input may be required, may be needed, may be anticipated, but for some reason it didn't quite pan out the way we thought it was going to pan out. It is what it is. But because we've built into our process the fact that these things happen, it doesn't derail us like it normally would if we didn't anticipate that, right? So we want to make sure that our problem is not losing sight of our why and where we're going, because the setback is not an issue. We know that's happening. We are expecting it to happen. In fact, if it doesn't happen, we're surprised. I would be. But it's part of what we've built into our process. This idea that, things are not always going to go the way we thought they were going to go. So the key thought here is that if you focus only on today's problem, today's issue, today's hump, today's lump, today's setback, then you lose sight of the vision, you lose momentum, you lose focus, you lose direction, you lose energy, and ultimately that ends. And we do not want that to be the case. So we're looking at the bigger picture, that is the goal that we're heading to, and we're keeping our eye on that. There's a saying, and I'm not even sure where it comes from. Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. So that's what we want to do. We want to keep our eye on the big picture. When we do that, then we're more likely to be successful. So here are 3 strategies for staying focused, right? And when keeping an eye on the big picture, as we said. Number 1, you want to define what the big picture means to you. So this concept of emotion, what does it mean to you? Because if you can attach emotion to it, if you can attach meaning to it, as we talked about before, nothing that happens has meaning until nothing that happens has a function, has a result, until you attach meaning to it. The moment you attach a meaning to it, then it drives all the downstream processes that move us in a direction. So when something happens, you have a way that you think about it, you attach a meaning to it, that meaning gives you a feeling, that feeling causes an emotion, that emotion drives your behavior, behavior drives your action, and then your action leads to a result. And so the question is, what does that mean to you? What does that vision, what does that prize, what does that big picture mean to you? Is it something that is big enough to sustain you in the middle of some of these setbacks that you go through? So what does success look like beyond today? Because we're focusing on the fact that it didn't work today, but we're not heading to today. Today is just a milestone. Today is just a piece of the puzzle. It's one of the chunks that we've created when we took our SMART goal and we chunked it up. So what is that thing that we're heading to? Because today isn't it. Today is just something. It's just one of the cogs in the wheel. So beyond today, right? Beyond today, beyond this season, what does that look like to us? So write down what your ideal future looks like. This goes back to our vision. your brain will create the vision for you that you are giving it data to make. So each time that you add another detail, each time that you add another point, then your brain will say, okay, this is what we are. This is where we are. And so then we can go back to that. We can go back to remember the feeling, remember how it tasted, remember the colors and the sounds and all the sights that are involved, because that is what sets us up for the best possibility of success. And that helps us to keep our minds there. Because remember, the more emotion we attach to something, the more the memory of that thing stays. And so our goal is, let's go ahead and let's keep that memory. Let's keep the memory going. Let's attach as much emotion to that as possible. And then you want to zoom out when you feel stuck. So, hey, there's this process that I'm going through, and I can't seem to get through it. I can't seem to get beyond this point. So let me zoom out and let me say, okay, what are the points of this? What are the important points of this? What does this mean? What's going on? What do I need to evaluate? And as you do that, you're taking a step back and looking at this as an overview. We're no longer concerned about just that cog, that little piece right now. We're not concerned about today's lump. Not that we're not concerned. Let me say that a little differently. It is something that happened, but it doesn't derail us. Does that make sense? It doesn't derail what we're doing, because we understand that it's just a part of the plan, part of the puzzle, part of what we've got to do to get to where we need to be. Will this matter in a year? Is a good question. So when I'm teaching students and when I have people rotating through my office, they are very concerned about various things that are happening with them in terms of their school, their exams, their classes. And the truth is, ultimately, in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, none of that will matter. Or the significance of it will be smaller sometimes than we anticipate. Remember, 91.4% of the things that we worry about never come true. So most things that are on our list of, oh man, this is going to be a big deal, most of those things never happen. And so we spend a lot of energy going through the process of worrying about those things that never actually happen. And so will this matter in a year is a good question to ask. Another question is this a temporary challenge, or is it a long-term problem? Is this something that is going to be here forever? And often we try to convince ourselves, or I said we try to, but we convince ourselves that it is something that's going to be there forever, which is why sometimes it seems so painful and so grandiose, because in our heads, it's like, man, this is forever. It's kind of like being on a meal plan, an eating plan. And there's certain things that you've decided, for whatever reason, that you're not going to eat. The brain goes into this thing called scarcity. And the brain says, oh man, I'm never again going to get any of this. So I'm gonna load up on it. When I see it, I'm gonna eat. When nobody's around, I'm gonna gorge. I'm gonna go to the store, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna stock it up. Right? Notice what's happened. Because we think this is a long-term thing, we have behaved in a way because we assigned meaning to it. And now our emotions are in play. It has triggered our behavior, or our behavior, and our behavior triggered our actions, and our actions have led to maybe high blood pressure. Maybe our weight has gone up. Maybe our blood sugars have gone up. And all that happened because we thought that that thing that we were giving up during our eating plan was going to be gone forever. Okay? So often it's a temporary thing. So once again, 91.4% of what we worry about doesn't come true. So make sure that you're not making permanent decisions based on temporary changes in your plan. Most struggles are just momentary. They don't define the journey. And if they are part of the journey, they are there for your education. They are a learning process. Remember, I don't fail. I only learn, or I succeed, right? So you want to make sure that you are not derailed by that. And then stay connected to your why daily. When you come up with something, when you come up with a why, we come up with that North Star statement. It can't be something that you just write in your journal and then you put it down and the journal is collecting dust. Yesterday we talked about evaluating our goals, and one of the comments I made was we can't let it collect dust. And sometimes we look at the things that we've done. We've looked at our whys, we've written it down, and we don't look at it again for I don't know how long. But it should be a daily thing that you are looking at, because it is what's driving your behavior, that alignment part. Well, if you're not clear on the why, then the things that you do on a daily basis, they're probably not aligned with what you say you want to do. So looking at it, evaluating it, and making it a part of you is very important if we want to be successful in our space, if we want to be consistent, self-confident, all the words that we talk about, right? All those attributes that go into our being able to be successful. So you want to make sure that you are staying connected to your why. It should be anchored in you, and everything you do should be anchored in it. The behavior, I'm gonna step out on a limb here and say the recreation that you do should rejuvenate you. It should replenish you, so that when you come back, that you're able to dive into that why with unbridled restraint. Like, you're going at it, right? You're bringing your A game to this thing, because this is what we're doing. That's not to say that you are ignoring and that you're putting to detriment other things in your life, because balance is very important. But you are putting your energies into this space because this is the why. This is why we're doing things. This is what we're doing. And all the things I'm doing, they are aligned with this purpose. They're aligned with this why, okay? So each morning you want to remind yourself of what it is. So have it with you. I've got some mantras, some statements that I go through on a daily basis because they help to push me forward. They help me to remember where I am, what I'm doing, and it helps me to select the things that I do, because there's certain things that, while they're good, they don't send me in the direction I need to go. They're not the things I need to be doing. Once again, they're good. They are not things that probably wouldn't be good for me to have, or nice for me to have, or people like to have, but they don't move me in the direction that I want to go. And so those things, as great as they can be, they're not part of my plan. They're not part of what I do. Okay? All right. So now, how do we use the bigger picture idea to stay connected and to stay consistent? How do we do that? Number one, you want to create a vision statement. So we've created a why. We've talked about the North Star statement. But what is the vision statement? What is your vision statement? Write it down, right? What does it say? What is the, when I've completed the 100 days, I would have lost 25 pounds. I would have been able to fit into this suit that I have, or this dress that I have. I will be more self-confident. I will show up with consistency. I will be a better version of myself. My family will look at me with renewed respect, and the people around me will hear my opinion, even if it may not be something they agree with. What does that look like? I'm going to be a different person. What does that look like? What is your why? What is your why? What is your why? And what does that statement look like? Right? What's the vision that you have? Remember, the more sights, the more sounds you put to it, the better it is, and the more you are likely to remain consistent, and the more you're likely to do it and be able to get through when things don't go your way. So track your long-term progress, not just your daily wins. So we have these milestones that we're using, and we're going through those milestones, and those are the things that we are using to track our progress and track our success. But sometimes we're looking at just small little pieces. Look at where you've come from. I told you my story of being upwards of 280 pounds, 285, 87 pounds. And when I look at my weight, down at 199, I was gonna say 99, right? No, not 99. So 199 pounds. Now, if I'm looking at the weight, I remember when I was down at say 140, and I looked at the weight, I'm like, man, I need to get down to whatever my goal was. But if I stood back and looked at, man, I was 285 pounds. That's 45 pounds that's gone. Yeah. So that is a goal. That's a win. And so the vision was that down there, that the way I looked was going to be different. The way I showed up was going to be different. And so one of my mantras that I have, and you can have your own mantra, but my body is my advertisement. My body, the way I show up, the way I talk, the way I carry myself, the conversations I have, this is my advertisement. Because we're talking about being in a space where we are recreating ourselves, right? These keystone principles. Oh yeah, you thought we were just walking? No. This is a transformative process that we're on. And we are creating a different version of ourselves. And if we're going to do that, then we have to show up differently. And the big picture, the vision that we have will help to drive that, and will help to give that energy, and help to give that purpose, and help us to be consistent. So tracking those long-term progress. Instead of looking at the journey, instead of looking at it each day, look at the big picture. Where have you come from? Instead of focusing on today's scale number, look at that, right? Look at where you've been. And look at where you are now. And that process is transformative. Just being able to say, man, I was 285 pounds and now I'm 240 pounds. That's transformative. That gives you some, right? And then surround yourself with reminders of your bigger goal. On the walls, on your refrigerator, on your calendar. Write them down so that you understand, so that you know what it is that you are doing and where you're heading. So don't let it just be something in your head, something that you are just thinking about, but make sure that it is front and present, so that when, for instance, in my studio, when I walk into my studio, there's a certificate that I have that I signed. It's going to be 5 years now, coming up in a few months. That I signed 5 years ago, about what my goal was and how I was going to show up in this space. And that, every time I walk into the studio, is right in front of me. I can't miss it, right? When I redesigned the studio, when I redecorated the studio, I moved things around, but it's right there. Because I want it to be front and present for me, because it helps me to understand where I'm heading and what my goals are. So make sure that your reminders are visible. Don't let them be just, in a book somewhere, because out of sight, out of mind. Now, you may think you remember it, but how many times have you written something and you think you remembered it, and you went back and you're like, oh, that wasn't quite what I was thinking, right? So our brain has the ability to change things over time. So make sure that you are keeping this front and present in your life. Use visuals, vision boards. Our team, when was that? Just a few days ago, actually. We do a vision board every year. And this year we were a little delayed because of scheduling. But we do a vision board for each of us. And at the beginning of the year, I do a vision for the practice. This is what we're focusing on this year, where we're taking care of patients, but how do we help them move beyond just, hey, my blood sugars are better? How do we help them now move into metabolic benefits, metabolic health, where we're talking about, okay, now your blood sugars are better. How do we get you off some of these medications? What do we have to do to help you get sleep? How do we help you deal with the stresses of life? Because the blood sugars are great, but what else do we need to focus on? And so use all of these tools to help you move to a positive direction. So vision boarding is a great thing. Journaling is a great thing. Affirmations is a great thing. A photo, a progress photo, right? That's why people take pictures when they're losing weight. They take pictures before, they take pictures in the middle, they take pictures after, because that helps them to see the progress they've made. Otherwise, sometimes, you've been looking at yourself in the mirror and sometimes you can't tell. But if you see that picture, you're like, oh my goodness, look at that. Look at how much I've changed. Look at how my body looks better. So all of those will be great things for us to do because they help us keep focused. They help us keep focused. So when we're looking at the bigger picture, it helps us to be sustained. It helps us to maintain our focus. It helps us to keep heading in the direction that we need to. Otherwise, we get bogged down in the things of today, that money that didn't show up the way we thought it was going to show up, the job that we thought we were going to get so that we could fund our hobby or our new venture, or the fact that it's snowing today and the weather is so bad that I can't get out. And so we lose focus on the fact that our goal really is not to be exercising today. Our goal is that we have something down there that we're heading, and we're using this as a way to get there. Right? Notice the change in verbiage. So yes, there is a goal that I have, but and yes, my goal was that I'm going to be out here every day. But the fact that I missed today doesn't mean that that goal is not reachable. And often we convince ourselves that because we've missed that day, because we, whatever it is, then we've messed up and we're lost. And that is not the case. That is far from the case. Okay? So our idea of progress has to change. Our idea of our focus may have to change. And so we're looking at that thing over there, that big picture. That's what we want. That's where we're heading. That's what's driving us. That's what's giving us focus. That's what's giving us direction. That's what's giving us energy. There's that acronym again. I'm going to change it around. FED. Direction, energy, and access. Direction, energy, and focus. DEF. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? Send me your recommendation. But I love that. I love that. Well, another great conversation, right? All of these are keystone principles. These are the things that everything else that we do rests on. And if these principles can be, if we can work on these, if we can improve these, if we can implement these, then all the other things that we talk about become stable. Because remember, that's what the keystone is. It is the stone on which all the other stones rely. And so it has a domino effect in our lives when we are able to get one of these keystone principles correct, when we're able to process it, when we're able to use it and implement it and be able to put it into our lives on a daily basis, then all the other areas of our life have the potential for improvement because it's a domino effect. All right, great conversation. Now, we can't ever end without having a challenge. So go ahead and grab that's right, go ahead and grab your journal and get ready. Here it is. You ready? All right, so grab your journal. And what we're doing now is we're talking about shifting our focus to the bigger picture. How do we go about doing that and set ourselves up for the best possibility of success? Number one, you want to write down your big picture. What does that look like? What is the big picture for you? Is it a health goal? Is it a weight goal? Is it an exercise goal? Is it that you've got a book that you're going to write? Is it a podcast? Is it a relationship? Are you an artist and you draw and you paint and you construct, whatever it is? What does that picture look like? Right? Create it. Give it texture and sounds and sights and smells. Be as detailed as you possibly can. What are you looking towards in the next year? What's my big picture and what am I looking forward to in the next year? Now today, it may not look like the way I thought it was going to look. Today, I may not have the resources. Today, I may not have all the things I need. I may not have the equipment to exercise. I may not be in a space where I can exercise, where I feel safe to exercise. What does it look like in a year? Because this right here, this is temporary, but that is where we're heading. So write that down. And then identify one challenge that you are facing right now. What's one thing that's causing a problem for you? A challenge. A place where you find, okay, this is where my vision, my goal sometimes seems to have a problem. What is that thing? Write it down and let's look at it from all the sides. Right? What's going on? Why do we think it's going on? When is that going on? Right? There's this thing about 360 evaluation. If you are evaluating anything, there's this concept. And so look at that thing. Don't just write it down, but look at it from all aspects. What's causing it? What is going on in that space? And will this still matter in a year? Will this matter in a year? The thing that's causing the challenge right now, will it matter in a year? And then you want to create a daily reminder of your vision. Write down a short vision statement or find an image that represents that vision for you. What does that look like? What does it feel like? Yeah. Oh man. We are creating, we're building every single day that you show up. Each of the concepts that we learn, you are building a better version of yourself. Hey, as always, I'm glad that you're here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. Thank you for joining me for my 100-day walk to consistency and health. This is day number 75. And tomorrow, we'll see you on day 76 as we continue being consistent. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life and go to the next level, creating the life you've always wanted. And we are living limitless lives. And that says there's nothing outside of me, nothing in me that's going to stop me from doing what I need to do. I'm showing up with my best self, my best health, and my best plans for my life. We'll see you tomorrow on The Walk.